welcome you to El Paso, into the beautiful region we call the Borderplex, where we collaborate together across 3 states and 2 nations. I'm probably the least worthy to be talking about El Paso in terms of kind of the perspective here to frame your week together. I came here in 2004 as the city manager for El Paso. But I had been here many years before that as a Kellogg Fellow, and my fellowship was really the reason I'm here. Because when I did my fellowship in the, I guess, early 90s, we were together. My independent learning plan was really about communities on international boundaries.
Hey, Jamie.
And so I met Leti Paez back then as a fellow who hosted me here, and I spent a week or 2 in this great community through her generosity, going back and forth between Juarez and El Paso, and really kind of learning about what was happening here in the region, particularly in light of NAFTA was all evolving during that time, and there was a lot of excitement and interest and controversy and all of that. So were it not for my fellowship, I doubt I would have ever been along the U.S.-Mexican border in terms of my career in city management. I was actually the city manager in Yuma, Arizona for almost 10 years. And they're very similar, even though El Paso is much, much bigger and much more urban. But they have that kind of geographic isolation in the state, like in the southwest corner bordering another country, other states, sort of cut off from like the heart of the state. In fact, El Paso is not even on Central Time Zone. We're on Mountain Time Zone. So when people are calling us from Houston, they're setting it up, and we're like, well, is it Mountain Time or Central Time? Because people forget that. But El Paso is just this amazing, really dynamic community, this whole region. And I can't say El Paso without Ciudad Juarez, because I don't think El Paso would really be here if it were not for Ciudad Juarez. And people, I think, really lose sight of that it was actually the pass of the north where the goods were coming in from Mexico into the provinces that really created a lot of this community. And so you'll see, I think, a really thriving urban community with a lot of really great institutions and amenities as you spend your days here. But you're also going to see a community that's really surrounded by a lot of rich agricultural enterprise and like industry associated with a really rural environment. I mean, you'll see dairy farming, pecan orchards. I mean, you just drive up and down the highway, and it's just amazing how you come into the city and then you go out and just see kind of the whole composite of, I think, a really robust agricultural industry here. The other thing I think that's really unique about El Paso that I have really found inspiring is that there are a lot of homegrown businesses here. You'll see a lot of locally owned enterprises that are very successful, start off as a little cottage industry, really talented entrepreneurs, hardworking, then grow into sometimes, multi-million, multi-billion enterprises. There are a lot of entrepreneurs here who have been recognized across the country for like Hispanic entrepreneurs, businesses of the year, like in the top 500 Hispanic-owned businesses. And so I think one of the things about being sort of isolated and cut off geographically from a lot of like urban support is that you become very resilient and self-sufficient. You support one another. You tend to grow your institutions to like help support that as well. And so while there are the challenges and sort of the contradictions of a community that has high rates of poverty, a lot of demographics that you would think that the community would not be stable, it's actually a pretty stable community. When you spend your day at UTEP, you'll meet Diana Natulisa, who's been the president there for 30 years. And she was just named one of Time's 100 most influential people, and she really reformed kind of the role of the university in terms of like lifting through education, like the economic status of people. And the number of first generations who are educated there, whose families migrated here, I mean, they're really heartfelt stories, and so you can kind of see just this whole culture of people who came to this country, migrated for whatever reason, really built their life and family and business, and then the next generation really launched with sort of the entrepreneurship, I think, of being in America. And at the same time, you also see kind of the other side of it, where people come in and they're really living below the radar. They're not documented, they're not educated, have a lot of, I mean, they're kind of like labor type businesses are exploited, those types of things. The other thing is that you'll find the Ciudad Juarez is another region of a city of contradictions. For those of you who get to travel into Juarez, I mean, the manufacturing sector there is really amazing. And it's growing at unparalleled levels and providing great jobs for people, even higher skilled, higher demand jobs. A lot of huge international corporations are coming in or have come back. And they're a major producer of goods and services, but at the same time, the community is still reeling and really struggling to overcome some of the most dramatic violence I think probably anyone who's ever lived here for their entire lives has ever seen. And it just basically cut us off because it was so unstable and so violent. I mean, you just could not move back and forth. In fact, I would say 50% of the community migrated out of Juarez. A lot of them came here for a long period of time. Our school system's inflated. And so you have all of that dynamic as well. Now, a lot of that has settled down and people are starting to go back, but it's going to be a very slow, painful process just because, the stories of the violence were not manufactured. I mean, you know, people were brutally murdered. I mean, you know, they were put up for demonstration on the bridges and those types of things. So you have all this kind of going on simultaneously, but it's in its earnest is just this really rich, thriving community with a very diverse array of industry sectors here that are growing at a very robust pace. And so one of the challenges in my career as city management, I mean, whether it was here or anywhere else, my commitment was always about really creating, you know, a vibrant community for everyone who lived in the community, regardless of their economic status, so that people had good parks in their neighborhoods, good infrastructure, clean water, access to good schools, economic opportunities. And that's hard to do when, you know, you have a lot of deficiencies or a poor community where your tax base is really limited. But I mean, I think all of the institutions here seem to really be very committed, working together to try to do their part to help really grow the community. And I think as a result, the community is in a really good place and has a lot of momentum. And some of that's because there are people of wealth here, significant wealth, that also have been very generous. They're native El Pasoans. They've lived here, they've left, they've come back, reinvested in their community. People from Juarez have come in. Again, you know, entrepreneurs made tremendous wealth, gave back. And so you see those marks all over the community, where in, you know, other parts of the country or other cities, you might not see that at the degree I think you can experience here. So I think you'll have a great conference, and you'll get to see a lot of interesting things. I'm now the CEO of Workforce Solutions Borderplex, which is the regional workforce board. And we are actually one of the sponsors because our region, my region, encompasses not only El Paso County, but I go all the way east and take in the 5 border counties up to Presidio. So again, we're dealing with a really huge array of economic situations in communities that are really big geographically but have very small populations, limited opportunity for industries, but also trying to figure out how to educate and employ people in those communities and also keep some of them in the communities where they grew up, so people don't feel like they have to migrate and all that, you know, the talent and the intellectual capital you're investing in is migrating out of the community. And one of our programs is actually a migrant farm worker support program. And so we'll have some information there about the services that we provide to migrant farm workers and to businesses, so people know their rights, their protections, like some of the resources available to businesses, and at the same time, training and support services and opportunities for migrant farm workers to help educate them and give them and their families opportunities for other forms of life and economic opportunities. So with that, I look forward to spending time with you. I'll be in and out of the conference. But it's always great to be amongst fellows. Once a fellow, always a fellow. And bienvenidos.